All right. I am responsible of talking about the company's financial analysis. So, there are several methods for determining whether investing in a company is economically viable or not. We can use the current ratio, the asset test ratio, the debt ratio, return on sales ratio, return on assets, and net sales inventory, respectively, will be used to show that the Cheesecake Company is a good company to invest in. This will be calculated from the data in the income statement and the balance sheet. First, we're going to start with the current ratio. This method helps to determine the company's working capital. It shows the number of times the current assets would cover short-term debts. To use the current ratio, we need to divide the current assets by the current liabilities. In 2013, the current ratio was 0.855. It decreased in 2014 to a 0.697 and decreased again in 2015 to a 0.644. Since none of the current ratios is at least 2, the company does not have the ability to meet short-term loans. As a result, the working capital invested in inventory cannot be easily converted to cash. Moving on to the asset test ratio. This is a way of knowing the company's immediate financial position with respect to its ability to cover short-term debts using readily convertible assets. An asset test ratio of 1 is often regarded as a strong current ratio position. Asset test ratio is the current assets minus the inventory divided by the current liabilities. In 2013, the ratio is a 0.721 and it decreased in 2014, becoming a 0.593. It decreased again in 2015, becoming a 0.546. Similarly, the calculated asset test ratios in all 3 years are all less than 1. Therefore, the company will not be able to cover short-term debts using its assets. And since all the ratios are less than 1, it is often regarded as a weak current position. The debt ratio. This helps to know the percentage of the company's ownership with respect to the creditor and shareholders. It is the ratio of total liabilities to the company's total assets. To use this ratio, we divide the total liabilities by the total assets. In 2013, the ratio was a 0.486. It increased in 2014 to a 0.521 and then slightly increased in 2015 to a 0.523. The calculated debt ratio in all 3 years never went above a 0.523. Therefore, we can safely assume that the Cheesecake Factory was 52% creditors and about 48% shareholders in 2015. Since all debt ratios are greater than 40%, the Cheesecake Factory was in a somewhat strong financial condition. ROS, or return on sales ratio. This is a measure of profit earned per sales dollar. An increase in ROS indicates that the company is growing more efficiently, while a decreasing ROS could be a signal of financial problem. ROS is the net profit divided by the net sales multiplied by 100%. In 2013, the ROS was 25.10%. It decreased in 2014, becoming 20.66%, and it increased again in 2015, becoming 23.12%. So according to our data, it would have been a bad investment to invest in a Cheesecake Factory between 2013 and 2014. However, it would have been a very profitable investment if we invested between 2014 and 2015. Moving on to the return on assets ratio. This evaluates the ability of the Cheesecake Factory to transfer assets into operating profit. The higher the ratio, the higher the profitability. Return on assets is the net profit divided by the total assets times 100%. In 2013, the ratio was a 10.17%. It decreased in 2014 to an 8.72%, and then it increased in 2015 to a 9.45%. According to our data, between 2013 and 2014, the ratio decreased and it increased again in 2014, between 2014 and 2015. Lastly, the inventory turnover ratio. This indicates the number of times the average inventory value passes through the operations of the company. To use the net sales to inventory, we divide the net sales by the average inventory. In 2013, the ratio was a 12.84. In 2014, it increased to a 14.74, and it slightly increased again in 2015 to a 14.82. The inventory turnover ratio was the most impressive of all. It showed that each year it will increase the ratio to a higher ratio. It was 12.84% in 2013, and then went on to becoming a 14.74 in 2014, finally slightly increasing in 14.82% in 2015. Now for the results and conclusion to Evan.
This company is really good to invest in by looking at the stock analysis and financial analysis. We know the company is doing well by just looking at the graph number for the past 3 years. The company continued to rise and the stock price has not fallen drastically in the past 3 years. The company sells an average of 10.5 million in food a year in food. We would recommend a person to accept employment with this company. And that's all we got. Thank you. That's all we got.